welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. In today's episode, I have for you the SCT Sampler Kit unboxing, and when I do an unboxing, I always do a project, so be sure to stick around for that. So if you're a subscriber, you've probably seen me do this plenty of times, but if you're new here, I will give you just a little bit of information about these kits, and I will link you below if you need more info. So this is what they look like when they come in the mail every month. They're a sampler of supplies from current modern collections and kits. Usually there's two different manufacturers that are included, and it seems like they are also now including dies in the sampler kit, so that's an exciting adjustment for this year. I think these kits are a really great value, and I highly recommend them. I love them. And here is the die that you see with this kit for this time around. It says Happy, and it has the shadow to go with it. And our two manufacturers this month are Doodlebug and Simple Stories, and I will link you up below to the overall collections at scrapbook.com as well as the individual embellishment packages that we will go over here. Now, I had started to sort through these to divide them up by manufacturer, but I decided I needed to pause and look at the supplies online to make sure I had them correct, and I'm really glad I did because some of the Simple Story things really made me think of Doodlebug, so I'm glad I double-checked. So I am going over the Doodlebug things first, and here is a sampling of one of the die-cut cardstock embellishment packs this month. I try to give you a closer view of those little bits, and then there's a teeny tiny pink heart, and that is a sticker called their Doodle Pops, which are layered dimensional stickers. And then those little heart enamel dots are called sprinkles, I believe, and I love their enamel dots. I love Doodlebug enamel dots. They're fabulous. And so let's go ahead and go over the pattern papers. You saw me go past a partial cut of tag sheets, and then here are partial patterns of their 12 by 12 papers. So they get cut down into 6 by 6 for these kits, so you get a sampling. Now, Doodlebug I tend not to be drawn to as much because of all of the smiley faces on inanimate objects. Is not quite my thing, but I actually really liked a lot of the neutral sides of these patterns this time around, and so I do find quite a bit of this quite usable for me. The florals, the X's and O's, the small heart prints, all of that I think is very usable to my style. Now, the Simple Stories collection is up next here, and I'm starting off with the foam stickers, and then we have a partial pack of the ephemera die-cut pieces. And again, I'm going to try and give you a little bit of a closer look because some of the details on these die cuts are really sweet, like that one says February 14th and has a few stars around it. This record player has a floral print on the outside of the record box. The socks have teeny tiny heart print on them, so I thought a lot of those details were just really sweet. You also get a partial cut of parts of 3x4s and one 4x6. And when I looked at the back of the 4x6, I realized, ooh, that's a very romantic feel. And the rest of this is more of a whimsical feel. So they've got that combo going on in this kit, which I think, or this collection, which I think is interesting. I am not particularly drawn to the hugely romantic feeling of things, but again, the B-sides of these papers are, or A-sides, depending on what we're talking about here, are very usable to me, and I am definitely drawn more to the whimsical side of these papers. And then also on some of these papers are like ledger prints, so that is even more of kind of a graphic feel to them. So that is a look at what you get in the kit this month, and this is very similar to what you will see in kits each month if you're new to these. And again, links are below. And here's a final look at the overall bits and pieces. Now, I always do a project when I do an unboxing so that you can see that these bits and pieces can be put together into a complete project. While they might seem a little bit random, you can do a lot with them. So I've got this photo of my friends, and the story behind this photo is that they were on a date away from their 3-year-old, and because of COVID restrictions, they were going to have to sit in their car in the cold weather, and my friend Katie messaged me and said, "Can we use your living room?" And I said, "Of course, come over." And so this is the story of how my living room became the hot date spot. So I have been really inspired lately by a lot of people who are doing diagonal designs. So I couldn't necessarily tell you exactly who because I've seen several people do them, but that is what I'm inspired by. This was, well, it's not a direct scrap lift. It is very much inspired by several people's projects that I've seen recently. So I am cutting all of the pattern papers that I set aside for this particular layout into diagonal strips. For the most part, I just cut them from corner to corner, and then I cut off a 1-inch strip from there. Now that does leave me with a whole bunch of leftover triangles of paper, but I'm not worried about that because I can totally do a layout design using triangles, and I will make that work out at some point in the future. As I'm putting these strips together, I'm trying to make sure there's enough contrast between each strip that I've got. So that nice dark floral next to a coral pink, and then this pattern is more of a blue. It did have typewriters on it, and as I was cutting these papers apart, I tried to get interesting portions of the pattern, but I had a hard time remembering which side was going to be right side up when I laid these out on my desk. So I did have to go through and recut a few things a couple of times as I got. Sometimes the spatial thinking in my brain is not always that on game. So I did have to do this a few times, and you can see me there. I had to take that part off because it was wrong, and then I had to recut it. So here I am with that edges. Because my top corner was a full triangle, I just lined up the straight edge of that top triangle and then used that as the guide to slice off the rest of my sticking out pieces. And that gives me nice straight edges, both on the top, which I was able to line up manually, and then on the side as well, that I was able to trim off with my trimmer. And then that journaling card I thought was super sweet for this layout, so I wanted to be sure to use that. Now I had that little cloud print set aside that I thought I was going to use, and at some point I just completely forgot about it. That would have been a nice extra pattern in my diagonal stripes, but that's how it went. So I did use the dies to cut apart the shadow layer and the word layer, and I'm layering those up. I did add a little bit of that corally pink behind that because it was not enough contrast between the blue journaling card and what's going to be my title. So I did start building up a few embellishments, and none of it was quite clicking with me, so I moved on to my title, which you see me doing here, and then adding some pin work to help things pop more, which is totally a zone I'm in lately, if you've seen any of my recent videos. I did have some ribbon on my desk, and I thought, you know what, that might be the perfect piece to grab to add to this layout, especially since there is a lot of empty space going on down in the left-hand corner. And when I put that ribbon on, I totally intended to cover up a small gap in my diagonal pattern prints with a bow that was tied onto the ribbon, but I put my ribbon in the wrong spot, and so now my bow is not tied onto the ribbon because I still had to cover up that gap. So sometimes design elements happen because of mistakes. That's how it goes. So now with that ribbon on there, I noticed this long zone at the bottom that I could just line up embellishments, and I liked that. So that worked for my embellishment design this time around, and I'm glad I didn't try to force anything. I just kind of waited for an idea to come, and that's what happened in this case. Now you can see me, I'm putting these little tiny enamel dot hearts in between each of those little embellishment pieces, and I was getting a little fussy about getting them lined up straight so that once I took a step back from the layout, they wouldn't totally look crooked to me. So that left a awkward little gap just above that ribbon that was under my journaling card, and I figured out I could add just one more line of journaling onto some leftover scrap pieces and those 2 leftover white enamel hearts from doing the embellishment cluster, some more pin work outlining some things to help them pop a little bit more, and that finishes off my layout for this time. I hope you enjoy seeing what the SCT Sampler Kit has to offer and how you can use these things to build wonderful projects, full-size projects, out of a sampling of supplies. If you got something helpful out of this video, I would appreciate a thumbs up because that does help my channel. And I will be back on Friday with another CKC challenge video for the month of February. I hope you'll join me then. I'll see you next time.